The story of Outlaw Motorcycle Clubs is not just about bikes, leather jackets, and roaring engines. It is a story about rebellion, brotherhood, and an alternative way of life. These clubs, often called one-percenters, have shaped a unique subculture that has fascinated, terrified, and inspired people across the world. To understand the origins of outlaw motorcycle clubs, we have to go back to post-World War II America. The war had just ended. Millions of young men returned home after serving in Europe and the Pacific. Many of them were in their early 20s, disciplined soldiers, trained in violence, and used to a life of danger, adrenaline, and camaraderie. But when they came back, civilian life felt boring. Factories, offices, and quiet suburban neighborhoods could not replace the rush of war. These veterans searched for something more. They longed for freedom, excitement, and the sense of brotherhood they once had in the military. Motorcycles became the perfect solution. Cheap surplus Harley-Davidsons and Indian motorcycles were available in large numbers after the war, and thousands of veterans bought them. Riding together gave them back a taste of danger, adventure, and solidarity. By the mid-1940s, informal motorcycle groups were popping up across California and other states. Most of them were harmless social clubs, weekend riders who enjoyed the open road. But some groups, made up of the roughest veterans and misfits, wanted more than just weekend rides. They wanted to live outside the rules of mainstream society. They became the Outlaws. The turning point came in 1947, in the small town of Hollister, California. During an American Motorcycle Association AMA rally, thousands of bikers gathered. Among them were members of the Boozefighters MC and the pissed-off bastards of Bloomington POBOB. Drinking, fighting, and racing spilled into the streets. Newspapers exaggerated the chaos, printing photos of drunken bikers lying on the ground with beer bottles everywhere. The incident shocked America. The AMA released a statement saying, 99% of motorcyclists are law-abiding citizens, and the troublemakers are only 1%. That single phrase created the foundation of the outlaw biker identity. The 1%ers proudly embraced this label, declaring that they were not like ordinary riders, they lived outside the law, outside society, and on their own terms. From these roots, clubs like the Hells Angels, the Outlaws, the Bandidos, and the Mongols would eventually rise. Each of them carried the same DNA: rebellion, freedom, loyalty, and brotherhood. The origins of Outlaw MCs are not just about crime or violence. They are about young men who could not fit into the ordinary world, who needed speed, danger, and a family bound not by blood but by patches. This was the birth of a culture that still thrives today, loud, defiant, and unforgettable. The early years of outlaw motorcycle clubs were shaped by war, poverty, and a hunger for freedom. While the 1947 Hollister incident created the legend of the one-percenters, the 1940s and 1950s laid the foundation for everything that outlaw MCs would become. After World War II, America entered a period of economic growth. Suburban houses popped up, factories boomed, and the middle class expanded. But for many veterans, this new world felt alien. They were restless, carrying trauma, and often rejected by a society that did not understand them. Motorcycles gave them a way out, a form of therapy and rebellion at the same time. By the late 1940s, several motorcycle clubs began to form in California. Two of the most important were the Boozefighters MC, founded in 1946 by Willie Faulkner, and the Pissed Off Bastards of Bloomington POBOB. Both clubs included war veterans, men who were tough, rowdy, and looking for excitement. These were not polite weekend riders, they were the rough edge of a new culture. The Hollister Riot of 1947 made Boozefighters famous. Newspapers sensationalized this story, publishing dramatic photos and claiming the town was taken over by terrorists on wheels. Though exaggerated, the image stuck. Suddenly, bikers represented danger and rebellion. The term outlaw biker was born. By the early 1950s, the POBOB would splinter, and from its ranks a new and more infamous group emerged, the Hells Angels Motorcycle Club. Founded in 1948 to 1949 in Fontana, California, by a group of veterans and tough riders, The Hells Angels took the outlaw lifestyle further than anyone before them. Their name, taken from a World War II bomber squadron, symbolized danger, toughness, and defiance. At the same time, in the Midwest, another group was rising, the Outlaws MC. Though the club had existed as far back as 1935 in Illinois, it grew rapidly in the 1950s, taking on a stronger outlaw identity as the one-percenter movement spread. The 1950s also saw bikers becoming a pop culture phenomenon. Hollywood movies like The Wild One 1953, starring Marlon Brando and Lee Marvin, captured the public's imagination. Brando played the leader of a motorcycle gang, while Marvin's character was directly inspired by Wino Willie and the Boozefighters. The film cemented the image of bikers as rebels, leather jackets, loud bikes, and no respect for authority. This era created the outlaw myth. For many Americans, bikers were now symbols of fear and fascination. For the bikers themselves, it was a badge of honor. They embraced their outsider status, wore patches to declare their loyalty, and built a code of brotherhood stronger than blood.
By the end of the 1950s, outlaw motorcycle clubs had spread across the United States. The seeds had been planted. The Hells Angels were growing in California, the Outlaws were expanding in the Midwest, and other groups like the Bandidos and Mongols would soon follow. What started as a restless veterans' escape had become a powerful underground culture. When people talk about outlaw motorcycle clubs, one name always comes up first: the Hells Angels. But they are not alone. Over time, 4 clubs became the pillars of the outlaw world: the Big Four, Hells Angels, Outlaws, Bandidos, and Mongols. These 4 organizations would grow into international brotherhoods, feared by law enforcement, admired by some, and hated by rivals. Hells Angels MC. The Hells Angels were founded in 1948-1949 in Fontana, California, by war veterans and tough riders. Their name came from a World War II bomber squadron, symbolizing danger and strength. What set them apart was their organization, strict rules, a formal hierarchy, and the iconic death head patch. By the 1960s, the Hells Angels were legends. Hunter S. Thompson's book Hells Angels 1966 painted them as both terrifying and fascinating. They expanded across the US, then into Europe, Canada, and beyond. Today, the Hells Angels are the most recognized outlaw motorcycle club in the world, with chapters in more than 50 countries. Outlaws MC. The Outlaws are actually older than the Hells Angels. Founded in 1935 in McCook, Illinois, they began as a small local riding club. But by the 1950s, influenced by the one-percenter movement, they evolved into a hardcore outlaw club. Their motto, God Forgives, Outlaws Don't, GFOD, captures their unforgiving reputation. The Outlaws became dominant in the Midwest and later expanded across the US, Canada, Europe, and Australia. They are known for violent rivalries, especially with the Hells Angels. For decades, the Outlaws have been one of the most powerful outlaw organizations in the world. Bandidos MC. The Bandidos were founded in 1966 in San Leon, Texas, by Donald Chambers, a Vietnam veteran. Their logo, a cartoon bandit with a sombrero and pistol, gave them instant recognition. Chambers believed in living fast and free, and within a decade, the Bandidos grew into a major force. They became especially powerful in Texas, the southern US, and later spread to Europe, Australia, and Asia. The Bandidos are often seen as rivals of the Hells Angels, especially in Europe, where their conflicts became infamous in the 1990s and 2000s. Their motto says it all: "We are the people our parents warned us about." Mongols MC. The Mongols were founded in 1969 in Montebello, California, by Hispanic Vietnam veterans who were not welcomed into the Hells Angels. They built their own brotherhood, with a black and white patch featuring a Mongol warrior on a motorcycle. The Mongols quickly became known as fierce fighters and strong rivals of the Hells Angels. Their reputation for violence, loyalty, and expansion made them one of the most feared clubs in the US by the 2000s. They had chapters not only across America but also in Mexico, Europe, and Asia.